Picture yourself walking into an old building where every stone feels like it is hiding a secret. Right in front of you stand two massive columns, a black and white mosaic floor, and carved into the central altar, a symbol so mysterious it's fueled centuries of conspiracy theories. What really goes on behind the closed doors of Masonic temples? Today, we're stepping through those doors to uncover secrets that only a few have ever dared to share. Freemasonry is a centuries-old fraternity wrapped in mystery. To many, it's a secret society, full of puzzling rituals, cryptic symbols, even rumors of global domination. But the truth is far more layered, and maybe even more fascinating. We'll uncover how medieval stonemasons, men who built soaring Gothic cathedrals and massive castles, evolved into guardians of symbolic temples. And believe it or not, every single detail you'll see, from the mosaic floors to the blazing star painted on the ceiling, carries a spiritual or philosophical meaning. Still, some of those marks have sparked myths, fears, and legends that live on to this day. The mystery begins. To become a Mason, one rule is non-negotiable. The candidate has to believe in a great architect of the universe. That mix of faith, symbols, and rituals has created an air of secrecy that's lasted for generations. What most people don't realize is that many of the world's most famous Masonic temples are filled with references to the Bible, astronomy, and even old knightly orders. Get ready, because the next images will take us to places that look like they belong in a suspense novel. From the Detroit Masonic Temple, with over 1,000 rooms and labyrinth-like halls, to Scotland's Rosslyn Chapel, shrouded in tales of the Holy Grail and the Knights Templar. By the end, you'll get to decide for yourself. Is Freemasonry just tradition? Or is there something deeper hiding behind those walls? The hidden story in Masonic architecture. When we picture Freemasonry, we often think of cryptic symbols, but its roots are literally set in stone. Centuries ago, long before the grand temples and secret rites, Masons were simply medieval stonemasons. They raised the Gothic cathedrals and gravity-defying castles with such precise calculations that many believed they were guided by divine forces. Over time, these builders opened their ranks to philosophers, scholars, and influential leaders, turning temples of stone into temples of ideas. But one thing stayed the same: the architecture. In 1723, a Scotsman named James Anderson wrote the famous Constitutions of Freemasonry. In them, he praised sacred geometry and the 5 classical orders of architecture: Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, Tuscan, and Composite. To the Masons, every column had a soul. The Doric, sturdy and plain, stood for strength and discipline. The Ionic, graceful and balanced, symbolized wisdom. The Corinthian, adorned with flowers and scrolls, reflected beauty and harmony. The Tuscan, simple and unadorned, evoked humility. And the Composite blended all those traits, representing perfect balance. But is that just good design, or does it hide a deeper meaning? Many temples were built to mirror almost perfect mathematical harmony, something some scholars call the secret language of proportions. Looking at these buildings, it is as if every feature was crafted to tell a silent story. From the grand columns to the carved capitals, each detail carries a moral or spiritual lesson. It's this fusion of art, science, and symbolism that makes every Masonic temple feel like an architectural riddle, a visual code that still challenges researchers today. And among all those temples, a few hide even deeper secrets. And that's where the journey gets truly intriguing. The secret heart of Freemasonry, the temple. To really understand Freemasonry, you can't just read about it. You need to step inside the temples. From the outside, most look like ordinary buildings, unassuming, sometimes without even a sign revealing what they are. But inside, every room is designed to hold spiritual meaning. Nearly all follow an ancient layout, a rectangular hall aligned east to west, symbolizing the path of the rising and setting sun. That orientation represents the search for light and knowledge, core values for Masons. Passing through the entrance, you are met by 2 towering pillars, Boaz and Jachin, the same names the Bible gives to the columns at the entrance of Solomon's temple. The floor is often a black and white mosaic, representing the constant duality of light and darkness, good and evil. Walking across it feels like a constant reminder. Life is built on choices. At the center of the lodge stands the altar, inspired by the altar of incense from Solomon's temple. Resting upon it are the so-called three great lights, the square, the compass, and the volume of sacred law, whether that's the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran, depending on the faith of the members. Each of these tools carries a moral message, the square for uprightness, the compass for self-control, and the holy book for the faith that guides their actions. You can't help but feel the solemn atmosphere inside, the soft lighting, the stillness, the symbolism in every corner. But among all these temples, some go far beyond religious symbolism. These are colossal structures, packed with architectural secrets and stories that have fed urban legends for centuries. So what makes those places so special? That's exactly what we're about to explore next. Masonic architects and iconic temples. Not every Masonic temple was built to blend in. Some were designed to impress, and in many cases by architects who were themselves members of the fraternity. Among these master builders was Christopher Wren, the man behind the reconstruction of the monumental St. Paul's Cathedral in London after the Great Fire of 1666. Another legendary name is James Hoban, the Irish-born architect who designed none other than the White House in the United States. Many claim there are hidden Masonic proportions built into the most powerful house in the world. And who could forget Pierre-Charles L'Enfant, the man who laid out the very streets of Washington, D.C.? Some researchers argue the city's grid itself forms secret symbols tied to Freemasonry. There's also Nicholas Hawksmoor, nicknamed the Devil's Architect, known for weaving mysterious elements into English churches, a legacy that still fascinates scholars today. But Masonic influence wasn't limited to capitals and cathedrals. It reached monuments that became global icons. The Statue of Liberty, a gift from the French to the Americans, carries symbols of light and hope, values cherished by Freemasonry. The fairy tale-like Neuschwanstein Castle in Bavaria is said to hold symbolic architectural details. And even Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris bears the marks of the old stonemasons whose craft later inspired the fraternity. To many, these landmarks are simply architectural masterpieces, but others believe they hold clues, hidden proportions, and silent messages left for future generations. Are those marks just coincidences, or coded messages hiding in plain sight? The answer may lie within the most enigmatic temples Freemasonry has ever built. Mysterious temples and dark legends. Among all the temples and monuments tied to Freemasonry, some hold stories straight out of a suspense novel. One of the most famous is Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland. Built in the 15th century, it's covered in intricate carvings, angels, flowers, skulls, and geometric patterns that have sparked visitors' imaginations for over 500 years. According to old legends, Rosslyn hides the secrets of the Knights Templar, the Holy Grail, even the Ark of the Covenant. While most historians dismiss these tales as myth, the chapel's eerie atmosphere still makes even skeptics wonder. Could something really be buried beneath those stones? Thousands of miles away in the United States stands the colossal Detroit Masonic Temple, boasting a staggering 137 rooms and hallways that fuel rumors of hidden tunnels and unmapped spaces. Built between 1920 and 1926, the structure blends neo-Gothic elegance with an air of mystery. For years, rumors swirled about abandoned floors where no one dared to go at night. Another site that fascinates visitors is the Masonic Temple of Philadelphia. From the outside, it's imposing, but its interior is what steals the show. 7 themed halls, including an Egyptian room that took 35 years to finish, with monumental columns and hand-painted hieroglyphs. These temples aren't just buildings. They're time capsules holding art, history, and mysteries that defy explanation. But there's yet another layer to this story: centuries of conspiracy theories and historical persecution. Why did so many governments and authoritarian regimes fear the Freemasons? The answer may reveal one of the darkest chapters of this brotherhood's history. Persecution, conspiracies, and hidden symbols. The story of Freemasonry isn't just about grand temples. It also carries deep scars of persecution and centuries of conspiracy theories. For ages, the fraternity has been accused of everything, from manipulating governments to collaborating with secret societies like the Illuminati, or plotting to establish a so-called New World Order. During Nazi Germany, Freemasons were hunted, imprisoned, and sent to concentration camps, accused by the regime of conspiring alongside Jewish communities. In Mussolini's Italy, Franco's Spain, and even the Soviet Union, Masonic lodges were shut down, rituals banned, and thousands of members persecuted simply for keeping their brotherhood alive. So what fueled such intense fear? Many historians point to Freemasonry's closed nature. Private meetings, unique symbols, and exclusive rituals bred suspicion and myths. One of the most debated symbols is the Eye of Providence, the famous all-seeing eye. Depicted inside a triangle surrounded by rays of light, it represents, for Masons, the ever-present gaze of the great architect of the universe. But when it appeared on the back of the US $1 bill, it sparked countless theories about supposed Masonic control over the global economy. The truth is, many of these symbols, like the square and compass, the blazing star, and the seal of Solomon, are interpreted by scholars as messages of balance, faith, and moral guidance. Still, for others, they're seen as carrying darker meanings, a secret language hiding in plain sight. Yet Freemasonry isn't just about the past. Its temples are still active today, some open to the public, others still cloaked in mystery, and that's exactly what keeps the fascination alive. The legacy and future of Masonic temples. For over 7 centuries, Freemasonry has left its mark not just on architecture, but also on culture, politics, and the history of entire nations. Once reserved for private gatherings, many of its temples now serve both sacred and public roles. Restored spaces that host cultural events, tourist tours, and historical exhibits. In London, the Freemasons' Hall welcomes thousands of visitors each year, even hosting fashion shows, while preserving its majestic Grand Temple, which seats up to 1,700 people. The monumental Detroit Masonic Temple, once nearly lost to debt, has been reborn as a venue for concerts, weddings, and stage productions. Yet it hasn't lost the aura of mystery that intrigues scholars and visitors alike. Still, despite this new openness, many temples remain closed to outsiders, keeping alive the sense that there are secrets locked behind those doors. At the same time, new constructions, like the Melbourne Masonic Centre in Australia, show that the fraternity is adapting to the modern world, embracing sustainable design and accessibility while holding on to its centuries-old symbols. Perhaps Freemasonry's greatest secret was never hidden in underground chambers at all, but in the symbols carved into columns, the mosaics beneath our feet, and the proportions of every temple, silent messages about faith, discipline, and self-transformation. Looking at these structures is like reading an architectural code that links the past, the present, and the future. So, what do you believe? Are these temples simply monuments of tradition and history? Or could there still be undiscovered mysteries waiting to be revealed?